Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to be comparing a 2022 Chevy Trailblazer to my 2004 GMC Envoy XL. I will be going over the interior and exterior and why I wouldn't purchase this newer Chevy Trailblazer, so stay tuned to the end of the video. A special thanks to one of my subscribers for reaching out to me and lending me his Trailblazer to film. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and show your support to my channel. It really means a lot to me. Anyways, let's get on with the video, shall we? Starting off with the front, the Trailblazer has a very aggressive look going on. I really do like it. I like the Chevy bow tie. It's black and it's not the typical gold color. It really adds a nice touch of class, I think. Since this is the RS spec, you get black accents throughout the vehicle. The DRLs are at the top, followed by the headlights in the middle, then the fog lights are below. This is becoming a trend these days. What do you guys think about this setup? The grille is large and it kind of reminds me of Lexus, but I do think it looks really good in this application here. The GMC Envoy has a more of a traditional look. The headlights are at the top, followed by the fog lights below. Something uncommon these days are headlamp washers, which this GMC Envoy had. I'm not sure if the Chevy Trailblazer of the same year had them, but the Envoy sure did, and it's a cool feature to have. Anyhow, the front end of the GMC Envoy looks aggressive in its own way. What do you guys think? Moving on to the rear end of the Chevy Trailblazer, we got dual exhaust tips, which is nice to see these days as auto manufacturers are doing fake exhaust tips. The black Chevy bow tie does really stand out with this white color, which I really like. Unlike the GMC Envoy, the Trailblazer is a car-based CUV, so it's very small, especially when you compare it to the GMC Envoy. Look how big the GMC Envoy looks. It's just crazy to see these two parked right next to each other. Yes, this is an XL Envoy, but the standard size Envoy is still huge compared to the current Trailblazer. The GMC Envoy has 17-inch polished aluminum wheels, which really look nice on the Envoy with these fat tires. The tire size is 245/65 R17s. The Trailblazer has these 18-inch wheels, which look okay. I'm not a big fan of the look, but it's appropriate for this vehicle, I guess. The tire size on the Trailblazer is 225/55 R18s. Which wheel design do you guys like? Let me know in the comments. Under the hood of the Trailblazer, we got a 1.3 turbo 3-cylinder engine pushing out 137 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque, which is kind of scary if you ask me. It's very underpowered, I think, and you'll be constantly smashing the throttle to get more power out of this thing. On the plus side, you get a lot of space here to work on the engine. It's not tightly packed like the Envoy. The Envoy has a smooth 5.3 liter V8 producing 290 horsepower and 333 pound-feet of torque. This may not be that much for a V8 these days, but keep in mind there's no supercharger or turbocharger. but it does a really good job hauling this near 5,500 pound SUV around pretty easily. On the left we have the key fob for the GMC Envoy. It's your typical GM key fob that was used on pretty much all other GM products from the 2000s. The Trailblazer key fob feels nice in your hand. It's got heft to it. The Trailblazer has auto start and power trunk, which can be operated using the key fob. In case the key fob battery died, you have a built-in key inside, the Trailblazer key fob, which is pretty common to see these days, but back in the 2000s, the key and remote were separate from each other. Moving into the interior, let's start with the Trailblazer. Upon opening the driver's side door, I was shocked to see how thin the front door panel is. That's the first thing that really stood out to me, which I don't know what to make of it, because when you look at the Envoy's door panel and literally every other car door panel that I've been in, it's very thick, so I'm really surprised to see this. The whole door panel is mostly hard touch plastics, which will be durable in the long term, but it just doesn't feel nice if you ask me. This has an 8-way power driver seat, and the seat material is called Evotex, which is GM's synthetic material they use on seats for durability. The seats are fairly comfortable for what the vehicle is. There's a decent amount of cushioning and a respectable amount of side bolstering to hold you in the corners. As for seat design, I think they look very nice. What do you guys think? I really like the red stitching on the sides, and the overall look of the seat is very good. There is a good amount of legroom in the back for a 6-foot adult like me, but the seats are just way too firm for my liking. The overall interior layout is very nice. It's simple, it's easy to use with lots of physical knobs and buttons for basic things such as volumes and climate control. This has a 7-speaker Bose setup, which sounds pretty decent. I'm not a big fan of all the hard touch plastics in here though. GM went super cheap on this interior, and I'm not sure how it'll hold up in the long run. You got a nice panoramic sunroof, which is surprising to see in this rather cheap cabin, but nonetheless it lets a lot of light in, which makes it feel less claustrophobic in here. The power trunk is nice, and once opened you got a decent amount of space. If you get the 7-speaker Bose system, you'll get a small subwoofer back in here, which this one has. See right there on the left. You can also adjust the height of the rear hatch, which is super handy, especially in a low ceiling situation. I'm surprised to see there is no power seats for the front passenger, but the driver's seat has it. This is just very strange to me. Power seats should come standard, especially at $32,000. Moving on into the Envoy, look how thick the door panel is. There is surprisingly lots of soft touch material here. All of the harder plastics are saved for the lower half of the panel. There's a 6-speaker Bose system which actually sounds pretty good. I've had friends say that the sound system actually surprised them considering it's a 20-year-old vehicle. The seats are leather, but they're not that comfortable, especially compared to the Trailblazer. You slide in the seats a lot, plus there's no bolstering. So I'd have to give the Trailblazer a win here. Also, the Envoy has power adjustable seats on both the front, driver, and passenger, unlike the Trailblazer. The second row bucket seats on the Envoy are pretty comfortable, especially compared to the front seats. The seats have a bit more cushioning to them as well, and the leg and hip room and shoulder are great back here. Overall, the interior of the Envoy is laid out very nicely. There's not much going on here in terms of tech. You got dual automatic climate control, heated seats, and useful steering wheel controls. I obviously added the screen here. I reviewed it on my channel and I will leave a link in the description below. I love the fake wood trim accents here. It's a nice touch and adds a bit of warmth to the rather dull cabin. That's all you need in here. Since this is the XL, you do have third row seating, but unlike many other third row SUVs these days, you can actually fit an adult back here with no problems. You also got a standard size sunroof here, no panoramic stuff like you see in the Trailblazer. The only GM SUV that I can think of that had a panoramic roof in the 2000s was the Cadillac SRX. So it was very uncommon to see panoramic roofs back then in that time. Now almost every new car has one. Moving on into the trunk, there's no power liftgate, but once you use some force to open the trunk, you get a decent amount of space back here with the third row up. Almost as much as the space in the Trailblazer with its second row up. To finalize this video, it's pretty interesting to see how far the Chevy Trailblazer name has come. Since they brought back the Chevy Trailblazer name, I would assume maybe in the near future we may see an Envoy nameplate come back in the game, but who knows. But what is really sad is what the Trailblazer was and what it has become now. I don't know what kind of person would buy a newer Chevy Trailblazer. It gives off rental car vibes to the max, and with Chevy's current reputation with engine reliability, I would stay far away from the Trailblazer as I can. I still don't know what the purpose of this vehicle is, because you have the Blazer, which is a bit bigger than this, and you also have the Chevy Trax, which I'm not too sure where it falls, but from the outside it looks a little bigger than this Trailblazer here. I think Chevy destroyed the name of the Trailblazer by making this piece of junk. Look what Ford has done with the Bronco. They brought back the nameplate and they made it into a really good looking off-road vehicle. And look at Chevy. They brought back the Trailblazer name and they had a chance to make a competitor to the Bronco, but instead they made a small city car without balls. Anyways folks, hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts on the Chevrolet Trailblazer? Let me know in the comments down below. See you all next time.